You are tuned in to a CS Podcast exclusive presented by NFLDraftBible.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible. Bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. Use the 30-day free promo code DRAFT2016. That's right, that promo code is still in effect. That's DRAFT2016 for a 30-day free trial at the NFL Draft Bible. Got a lot going on over there at the NFL Draft Bible. Draft season never ends. It is a 24/7, 365 round clock over there at NFL Draft Bible. The crew was over at the NEC, the Northeast Conference Media Day today over at MetLife Stadium, the home of the New York Giants. Rick Saratella, Miami Mike, Sam, Dave Schumann, they were all there. Some great content over there. They were streaming everything on Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitter. I mean, you name it, it is on there. And, of course, NFL Draft Bible as well. And you know, we've also been doing some interviews with some prospects heading into their senior season. Just the other day, I was able to talk to Fordham standout tight end and first team NUC NFL Draft Bible preseason All-American in Faison Odom, a huge target. So go ahead and check that out. Dorian, the safety out of Princeton. I mean, just a lot of talent. Tyson Graham, Javancy Jones of Jackson State, a lot of talent there, and you know, some big-time seniors getting ready for their last season of their collegiate career, looking to go out on a bank. So again, check that out again on Twitter at NFL Draft Bible, NFLDraftBible.com. Bringing you the names that you didn't know first since 2002. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Chris Shanafel. And tonight we are going to be talking all NFL. It's going to just be a lot of NFL topics, and it's going to be rapid fire. We're going to bring on my man Jovan Alford of Total Sports Live. He's also a contributor over at Real GM. You can follow him on Twitter as well at Jovan10. Jovan, how's it going?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad that we finally was able to link up and talk some NFL as training camps not too far away.
Yeah, and you know what? It was about a year ago this time where we did quite a few podcasts, and you know, we were kind of talking about you know, the news and the latest of what was going on around the National Football League, and here we are again tonight doing that same exact thing. And you know, since we are presented by the NFL Draft Bible, and like I said, I mean, draft season never really ends. Once the 2016 NFL Draft ended, I know you're on the same boat as me as well. I mean, we were looking forward to the 2017 NFL Draft. I mean, just minutes after the 2016 NFL Draft ended. And with that said, I mean, let's take a look at some of the guys that were in the 2016 NFL Draft. Of course, you got the big-time first-rounders. You're over there in Philadelphia, and we will be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles in just a moment. But, of course, Carson Wentz goes number 2 overall. Jared Goff, number 1. I mean, those are the guys that are getting a lot of the spotlight so far. But let's take a look at some day 3 prospects, Jovan. I mean, I'll ask you flat out, I mean, which day 3 prospect, is there any day 3 prospects from this year's draft class, the 2016 NFL Draft, that you could see having a big-time impact on their team year 1?
Well, it's funny you bring up that question because I was sitting there literally before showtime trying to figure out who was drafted in day 3 because the draft seemed like it was just like a whirlwind just in general of who got drafted where. And one guy who I was very surprised that even fell to day 3 and who was probably one of my favorite running backs out of this year's draft class, I think Paul Perkins is going to be, I think he's going to make an impact this year as a day 3 selection. Maybe we'll remember Paul Perkins went to UCLA. You know, when people think UCLA, don't think running backs. You know, everybody was thinking of the freshman quarterback Rosen. Everybody, you know, thinking about him, not thinking about Perkins. Well, Perkins had a pretty solid career at UCLA. He can run, he can carry the ball, he can catch out the backfield comfortably. I think he's going to do. He landed in a favorable spot with the New York Giants, they only, in the NFL these days, you got to have kind of a three-headed monster. You just can't get away with two because there's always the factor of somebody going down. So he lands in a very interesting position where they already have Rashard Jennings and they already have Shane Vereen. And he's going to be competing probably for that third spot with Andre Williams, who, he's more of a power back, but he hasn't shown anything to us these first few couple years he's been in the league. And, we got Bobby Rainey on the roster, and Orleans Darka, who was an undrafted guy who got some play last year. But there's an opening for him to make a play and, to get a roster spot at that third running back. Because if you think about it, Perkins is more of the mold of what Vereen and Jennings can do. Jennings can carry the ball, and he can catch out the backfield too. And Vereen, we all know that's what he did when he was with New England. He just caught the ball. He got some rushing yards, but he also was able to catch the ball in the backfield. So I think Paul Perkins is just one of my guys out of day three who I think can make an impact in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly a great selection, and like you said, a guy that it was a bit of a surprise that he was there in day three for the Giants to select. He was the guy that I saw going sometime in day two. So, of course, when day three began, I thought, all right, there's no doubt he's going to be taken off the board pretty quickly here, and it was the New York Football Giants who pulled the trigger on the running back out of UCLA, Paul Perkins. And, you just named quite a few guys on their running back depth chart, and I'm looking at it right now. I gotta tell you, I was not aware that the Giants' running back depth was so deep. Like you mentioned, they already have Rashad Jennings, a proven veteran. If he could stay healthy, I think that would be a perfect running back for Paul Perkins to kind of split carries with. But Shane Vereen isn't any scrub either. I mean, we've seen what he was able to do over the last few years in New England, a big-time playmaker there, especially in that Super Bowl victory against the Seattle Seahawks a couple years ago. And then, Bobby Rainey, I know he's had some off-the-field issues. Andre Williams, I mean, is he going to find his groove? Orleans Darkwa, it seems like the coaching staff really likes him, and he's shown some flashes here and there when he gets an opportunity. And then the undrafted free agent out of Illinois State, Marshawn Copper. So a lot of depth there. It's going to be very interesting to see, how this battle goes out. I mean, like you said, it looks as if Paul Perkins is battling for that number 3 running back spot. I mean, I would say you're not going to cut a guy that was taken in the, 4th round, I believe Perkins was. So I would say he's almost a lock to make the team, but he certainly has his work cut out for him because there's a ton of talent on that running back depth chart for the New York Giants. Quickly before we move on, I mean, the day 3 guy I really like it, and there's a ton of them. Again, day 3, rounds 4 through 7. And the Cleveland Browns had quite a few picks in this year's draft, especially day 3. One I think that they really hit big on was the wide receiver Rashard Higgins out of Colorado State. I think that a nice big target. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns really need as much help as they can get, not only on offense but defense as well. So I think he's going to be a real big help to their offense. Who knows if they're ever going to get Josh Gordon back? I did see that he met with the NFL commissioner earlier today, I believe. I think Rashard Higgins could go in there and he could go in there and start right away for this Cleveland Browns team. No disrespect to Taylor Gabriel. I think he's the perfect slot receiver and the other guys on that roster. But I think Rashard Higgins, heading into training camp, at least off the top of my head, he's probably the best guy that they have. Again, a very nice size target at 6'2". He has the frame where he could put on some more weight, and that's something that you would like to see him do. Obviously, that's going to take a little bit of time. I believe he's only weighing 182, 185, somewhere in that range, but certainly has the frame to put on some more weight and more muscle. You watch this guy. I remember watching him leading into the draft, watching some of his film, and really a crisp route runner, probably one of the better route runners in the 2016 NFL draft. So I think for the Cleveland Browns to get him in day 3, I think that'll really help their offense out and kind of give them something to work with on that offense for Hugh Jackson.
I totally agree with you, Chris. I agree with you about that. I think Higgins actually been on my radar for a couple of years because every year it seems like he's just catching more a reception machine. He's pretty much the Jugs machine, pretty much. Just catches everything in his path. And a lot of people, probably wasn't really paying attention to him because he played in the, I wouldn't say Mountain West. So not a lot of attention is, given to the Mountain West because we all know, we all watch college football, it's hard to stay up to watch those late 10 o'clock games, to stay up and say, all right, I want to watch some Rashad Higgins this tonight. But no, I think, like you said, Cleveland went very offensive heavy, and you can't blame Hugh Jackson for going that way because he's an offensive guy, and he's given his quarterback, whoever that may be, in RG3 or Josh McCown, weapons, and that was the problem. They lost Travis Benjamin to free agency. You don't know about Josh Gordon, so you're pretty much left with, like you said, Taylor Gabriel, and you now a bunch of rookies, Corey Coleman, Rashard Higgins, DeVal, the rookie tight end. There's a lot of weapons. Yeah. It's just going to be, it's going to be a growing experience, and it's going to be, it's sad to say, but it has to be, can you grow up fast and learn the NFL and be confident. So I think I like the Higgins selection. I think, like you said, he can have a big year just because everybody's kind of like open. It's kind of like open. It's open season because everybody can compete for a roster spot.
Yeah, and, he doesn't have the nickname Hollywood Higgins for no reason. In 2014 as a sophomore, 96 receptions, over 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns. Obviously didn't have that type of production this past season as a junior, his last at Colorado State. It's kind of hard to back that up. Nonetheless, still 75 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, just a great talent to find in the 5th round, especially for a team that needs as much help as Cleveland does. And like you said, whoever gets drafted into the NFL, whether you're going to the New England Patriots or you're going to the Cleveland Browns, you have to grow up quickly. This is now your job. Especially if you're going to a team like Cleveland, a team that hasn't had success in such a long time, and obviously going through a coaching carousel, it seems, although I do think that Hugh Jackson could be there for quite a while. This is definitely a spot that you're going to have to grow up very fast, and this is where you see, do you really love the game of football? I don't think you make it this far if you don't, but your faith will certainly be tested if you're going to a team like the Cleveland Browns. So again, some great talent, obviously taken in day 3, Rashard Higgins in the 5th round to Cleveland, then Paul Perkins. I believe he was a 4th round pick. He could have slid to the 5th as well, though, to the New York Giants.
He was 5th because he had to Wendell Smallwood, and that broke my heart because I wanted to.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Perkins probably would have been a better fit there in Philadelphia as well, but the New York Giants snatched him up a round later, so that's going to be haunting you, especially those 2 times they meet up every year. Anyways, moving on, Jovan, the Philadelphia Eagles, you're in the Philadelphia area. I wake up this morning, and I'm just puzzled. I'm kind of blown away with what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a report that Eric Rowe is on the trade block, obviously a second-round pick last year. I thought he really showed quite a bit for a rookie last year, especially with all the mess that Philadelphia was going through last year. I thought he was kind of one of those bright spots in that defense. Again, a second-round pick just a year ago, and there's already talks about him being on the trade block. And this isn't a second-round pick that had a terrible rookie season that showed no promise. I think it was quite the opposite. I think he showed quite a bit of promise in that Philadelphia Eagles defense last season. Should we really be reading into this? Is Eric Rowe on the trade block in your opinion? Could he be suiting up for another team come September?
In my opinion, I don't think Eric Rowe is on the trading block. And let's think about this clearly, because the Eagles beat writer who said that he's available, I don't know where he's getting that from, or he's on. I guess he's on his high of Jalen Mills, the 7th round pick that they drafted this year. Let's think about this. Yes, Eric Rowe, why would you get rid of your 2nd round pick that was pretty much your best cornerback last season? No disrespect to Nolan Carroll. Carroll suffered a terrible ankle injury, I think, later in the season. But Rowe, without no Carroll, and with Byron Maxwell, who was Byron Maxwell, wasn't great or anything. He wasn't like Richard Sherman or Darrelle Revis, but he was formidable. But on the other side, it was the Eric Rowe show. It was the Eric Rowe show, and he had a lot of good moments this season, especially for a guy who played cornerback at Utah to begin his career and it ended off playing safety. So he had to revert back from playing safety in college to playing corner. So with that being said, he had, like I said, he had a couple of bright moments. I mean, he had the one interception against the New York Jets, early in the year, where I think he was going against I want to say Devin Smith or something like that, going against the speedster, gets the interception. He gets the interception there, and then the game against the Patriots, who I think nobody thought that the Eagles were going to win. Even I didn't think they were going to win. I didn't think they were going to win. And he's playing outside one-on-one matchup, and he played excellent football on the outside. And then I think what everybody probably remembers was that whole debacle on Given, where Calvin Johnson took him to the weight room and just totally destroyed him. But that's okay because he's a rookie. He's a rookie. Megatron is supposed to do that. The world was not supposed to lock down Megatron. It's supposed to be the other way around. So with all that being said, I don't see why he would be on the trading block, because let's look at the Eagles' secondary right now, corner. Nolan Carroll, he's not nothing to write home about. Leotis McKelvin, he's getting older, nothing to write about. Ron Brooks, he's a depth guy, came from Buffalo. McKelvin came from Buffalo. Who else? I'm thinking, okay, Jalen Mills, who could eventually be the replacement at safety, but right now corner, 7th-round guy. Who knows he makes the roster? The only guy who's been here is Carolyn Rowe. So I think people gotta pump their brakes on this whole trade speculation, because everybody was like, my team should trade for Rowe, and my team should trade for Rowe. Let's slow down with that. He's a 2nd-round pick. I don't think if the Eagles haven't given up on Marcus Smith yet, they're not giving up on Eric Rowe yet.
Good point. That's a good point. I mean, Marcus Smith, I think Eric Rowe just last season alone showed more than what Marcus Smith has showed so far in his career. I think that's a great point right there. I will say this, Jalen Mills, out of LSU, he was another guy that I was surprised to see fall to day 3, let alone the 7th round. So I think that's a nice talent there, but I don't think that you are going to get rid of Eric Rowe to go ahead and throw Jalen Mills in that starting defense, week 1 or at some point this season. Anyways, I mean, I know one thing for sure, Chip Kelly and the San Francisco 49ers, they are probably the number 1 team interested in Eric Rowe if this report is true. And as I told you earlier today, we're going back and forth through text messages, and I think all 31 teams in the NFL are probably calling the Philadelphia Eagles to see if this report is true. Hey, we'll give you a 4th-round pick for Eric Rowe. Let's go. I mean, I'm sure every team in the NFL will be happy to have a player like Eric Rowe on their team. And like you, I don't know if I'm really buying this report. I will be shocked if Eric Rowe is on another team this coming season. Like you said, only entering his 2nd year, and was a 2nd-round pick a year ago, and showed some promise on that Eagles defense. And with that said, again, we're chatting with Jovan Alford of TotalSportsLive.com, also a contributor over at RealGM. Go ahead and give him a follow at Jovan10 on Twitter. And Jovan, let's stick with the defensive backs, and let's talk a little bit about the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu of the Arizona Cardinals. If I'm not mistaken, this is his final year on his contract.
Yep.
And there's been some talk. I mean, should he be the highest paid safety in the NFL once it's his time, once he signs his contract? I mean, you got Eric Berry playing on the franchise tag. He's going to make over $10 million this season, closer to $11 million this season. He'll be the highest paid safety this season just because of that franchise tag. And then after that, you got Harrison Smith. He reached a $1 million deal with Minnesota. He'll be making a little over $10 million this season, $15 million total guaranteed. And then, of course, you got Earl Thomas, $10 million this season. I mean, that's a lot of money, no doubt about it, especially for a safety, probably my favorite position. And they say this is, they're kind of like the quarterback of the defense. Either the safety or the linebackers. When it comes to Tyrann Mathieu, I would probably say he is probably the safety, the quarterback of the Cardinals defense when he's healthy, when he's on the field, and that's a big win. I mean, obviously he's coming off of his 2nd torn ACL. So what I would say is I think the Arizona Cardinals, they should kind of pump their brakes. I don't think they should be heating up or running into these talks very soon. I think they should go through the season and let him play let him play the contract out and see how he's doing after the season. If he played a full season, I'm not saying if God forbid he suffers another injury, don't re-sign him, but just know that how much you give the guy will depend on how reliable he is, because he's great in the locker room. He hasn't been an issue since he's gotten to the NFL, and obviously his play speaks for itself. But something has to be said about the injuries, and I know it's very unfortunate. And he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Certainly one of the more fun players to watch in the NFL. But again, something has to be said about the injuries, and they say the best ability is availability, and I think that's going to be big when it comes to the contract talks between the Arizona Cardinals and Tyrann Mathieu.
I totally agree with you. I think number one is health. We see a lot of players, get paid because they're healthy, and they're not that good at players that aren't healthy and don't get paid as much. I swear the Cardinals are like literally they're becoming like my second favorite team for some reason. Like, I literally now follow the Cardinals as well as I follow the Eagles. I don't know how that happened, but I'll just take it. But like you say, Tyrann Mathieu when healthy, dude is he's a ball hawk. He's a baller. Him and Patrick Peterson on one side is that's lethal, man. That's a lethal combination, and you got to think about it. Like you said, the Cardinals shouldn't rush into these, into these contract negotiations or extensions, because they also, gotta figure out what they're going to do with Calais Campbell. He's coming up, and he's been just as dominant on that defensive line. Even though Dwight Freeney had 8 sacks last year, he's just been as dominant. So if you're the Cardinals, you got to kind of wait this out, because, like you said, you got to see how he bounces back from this injury. If he bounces back from this injury and plays well and plays up to the standard that we all know that he can play up to, then sure, pay the man his money. But you also got to weigh in his health, and also what are you going to do with Calais Campbell? Because they can't afford, to be honest right now, they can't really afford to lose a Calais Campbell next season, because even though they have Marcus Golden on the defensive line, a rookie from the 2015 class, and Rodney Gunter, who you watched a lot of, Chris, and when he was at Delaware State, in the middle, you can't replace a guy like Calais Campbell.
No, I mean, not only talent-wise, but he's another guy that is obviously well-respected in the locker room. I mean, and maybe the Cardinals wouldn't miss so much of that, the leadership and whatnot that he brings to the locker room, because they have so much of it, in Larry Fitzgerald, Carson Palmer, you got Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson. I mean, from the Amazon series, All or Nothing, I mean, you see that they just have a ton of leadership in that locker room, but and whether or not they'll miss the leadership Calais Campbell brings to the locker room or not, they will certainly miss the talent that he brings, and the relentless play that he brings to that defensive line. Just a madman on that defensive line. And when it comes to Tyrann Mathieu, one more thing. I mean, I was just thinking. I mean, I absolutely love the play of Sean Taylor. I mean, that probably would have been a surefire Hall of Famer if he had a longer career. Thinking of Tyrann Mathieu and the way he plays, I don't know. I think Sean Taylor is the only person that compares to the aggressiveness that Tyrann Mathieu brings. I don't know if Tyrann Mathieu is certainly on that level just yet, or from what we've seen, but I think he's probably the closest thing, at least aggressive play and what he brings to the table. I think Tyrann Mathieu is probably the closest thing that we've seen to Sean Taylor since the unfortunate passing of Sean Taylor.
No, I would agree. I would agree with you. Like you said, his aggressiveness. We don't see a lot of safeties just plays with that aggressiveness. We've seen a lot of safeties that play with that aggressiveness, but it's reckless. It's reckless aggressiveness, and they get exposed in the run game or the passing game. Matthew's aggressiveness is
he knows
evil.
Right. He knows when to use it. He knows how to control it, and that's certainly something Sean Taylor was able to do back in the day for the Washington Redskins. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds with the Arizona Cardinals and Tyrann Mathieu and that contract situation. I mean, certainly does deserve some money. I just don't exactly know how much, and this season will be very telling in exactly how much the Arizona Cardinals should dish out to the Honey Badger and that very, very aggressive safety that they have there that they took in the third round a few years back, fell down to the third round of the NFL draft. Anyways, moving on, Jovan, let's move to the offensive side of the ball, and we'll start off with the New York Jets. A big question mark there at quarterback, and it sounds as if things aren't looking too bright with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He recently put his, I'm not sure if it was an apartment or a home that he had there in Jersey, but he recently put it up for rent. And you got Brandon Marshall. He's freaking out. Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't returning his calls or his text messages. It does not sound too good or too pretty there in New Jersey with the New York Jets. As of right now, you got to think, I mean, all signs are pointing to Geno Smith, taking the snaps under center, being the team's starting quarterback. How much trouble are the Jets in when it comes to their quarterback situation? Do you see Ryan Fitzpatrick returning under center there for the Jets at some point in training camp or preseason?
The Jets are in trouble. When I think of this whole situation, I'm thinking like Fitzpatrick is like the scoring girlfriend who wasn't made like Woman Crush Wednesday on Instagram. Like, she's very upset right now. And that's how I feel about Fitzpatrick. He's very upset right now because of the money that he's been offered. Especially, he was one of the main reasons, along with Chris Ivory, he was one of the main reasons why the Jets got to 10-6 last year, and he was one of the main reasons why they didn't get to the playoffs as well. It's kind of a weird situation, but when you look at the quarterback situation right now, man, do they go with Geno?
I mean, you're not going to start Hack,
Right? No. Oh God, no. Please, no. He's regressed. He's regressed since his freshman year. I had so much hope for him, but that just totally went down the hill. But you got Hack. I mean, Bryce Petty. Is it time for Bryce Petty? I mean, Bryce is sitting there. He's that's the dude that used Madden to offense. So you got him. You got Geno, who felt like he was disrespected because he went to the second round. I mean, it's a tough situation. You would think that they would probably try to go after Fitzpatrick, especially the deal that they gave Muhammad Wilkerson last week, that 5-year, $86 million deal, because it saved them some money to go after Fitzpatrick. But I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he'll probably just sit out and just like, okay, I'll let you guys rest there. But if you ever want to call me and want to fuck that money, I'll be there.
Well, and I know there wasn't a ton of interest for him in free agency when from other teams. But let training camp start, and one of these starting quarterbacks go down. Now, of course, he won't make as much money as he would have as a Jet, but that could be something he would just take a deal from another team, maybe for a little less, just to show the Jets, hey, you guys didn't want to pay me my money. Now I'll go suit up somewhere else. I don't know if you guys thought I was just going to sit here all season long or not, but I'm going to go get this money with another team and play for them. Now, obviously, a lot will have to happen in order for that to actually go down. But, like you said, it sounds like Ryan Fitzpatrick not very happy with the Jets right now. And remember, a year ago this time, Geno was their guy. Todd Bowles was saying, Geno's their quarterback. He was looking great. He was, he had a great mini camp, had great OTAs. Brandon Marshall, when he was first acquired there, he was living with Geno Smith. So don't know where all that chemistry went, but they better figure it back out very quickly, because that could be their starting quarterback this season, Geno Smith. I think the only thing stopping that is a broken jaw, but we will see about that. And another quarterback situation, Jovan. We got Denver, the defending Super Bowl champs. Peyton Manning hangs them up, and we're thinking that they may go after a free agent. That doesn't happen. They sign Mark Sanchez. They trade up in the draft, and they get their guy out of Memphis, Paxton Lynch. It does not sound like Paxton Lynch is even in the conversation for the team starting quarterback spot this season. but it is the 7th-round draft pick from last year's draft, Trevor Siemian of Northwestern, and Mark Sanchez going head-to-head in what sounds as if it is a very close quarterback battle, though I've seen on NFL.com today that Sylvester Williams, the defensive tackle on the Denver Broncos, he has said that Kubiak has indicated that Mark Sanchez will start at quarterback, so a lot of questions there. Obviously, we still have training camp, so got to think there's still going to be some kind of battle. I mean, Kubiak hasn't really officially come out and said that it's Mark Sanchez's job, and there has been a lot of raves about the former Northwestern quarterback Trevor Siemian. This is certainly going to be a battle to watch out for. I got to think Sanchez comes out on top. If not, then Sanchez may want to pack up his locker and play in another league, play in the AFL, play in the CFL, because as much as I like Trevor Siemian and I'm sure Kubiak's doing a great job with him, but a former first-round draft pick, Mark Sanchez, this seems like he couldn't have been in a better situation. I mean, he was in a similar situation with the New York Jets when he first came into the league. Now he's a little bit more polished. He knows what to expect, and he's playing with a better defense. Seems like a perfect situation for Mark Sanchez. What do you think goes down in this quarterback battle there in Denver? Does Mark Sanchez win the job, or does Paxton Lynch come out of nowhere and steal the job in training camp?
I would be utterly surprised if Paxton Lynch won the job, and that's not to say that he isn't good, but I just don't. I'm really a firm believer. If you're not a quarterback named Mariota or Winston, you should not be starting this year. In this year's class, you should not be starting, except Jared Goff, because he's going to have to start regardless, because Nick Foles ain't having that either. He's like, peace out. Which is another quarterback that could, you don't want to be there. Could be a trade, Jets maybe. I'm just saying. That could be another option for New York. But when we look at Denver, like you said, the Denver panicked and was like, we need to get ourselves a quarterback. So what do? They trade for Mark Sanchez. All right, that's good. But now it's kind of like what you've been hearing, like just through the spring and the summer, like is Sanchez going to get beat out by Trevor Siemian, the GOAT of Northwestern? Is Trevor Siemian the GOAT? 7th round pick is going to upset and beat and take out Mark Sanchez. It's very possible because he's already had a year in that offense. He's got the leg up already on Sanchez when we come and learn an offense. Now it's just can he go out and execute? Now that's going to be the question. I would have to think that it is Sanchez's job to lose at this point because he's the veteran and Simeon's only the second-year guy. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on that quarterback battle because Simeon has something to offer. He has something there that could shock the world and be like, hold up, the 7th round dude is starting. Yeah, this was the guy that the Broncos took that was injured in last year's draft, and they said, we're going to take him, and this is the reason why, because they see something in him. And you interviewed him too last year, so we got to throw that plug in there too. So that just makes the story that much better. Become starting quarterback.
Yeah, without a doubt, I will take it. I will be surprised, but I will take it. That is for sure. A couple more topics, Jovan, and then we'll let you go. I don't even know if it was an hour before we hopped on the air, Jovan. It was reported by Rand Getlin of NFL Network that Greg Hardy, the former Panther, the former Cowboy, he had a workout with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It sounds as if they're just kicking the tires, seeing what he had. It doesn't look like we should read too much into this. But, just think about that. Greg Hardy playing on that same defensive line with Malik Jackson there in the middle. You got Miles Jack coming from the outside. I assume he'll be playing outside linebacker. Jalen Ramsey at cornerback. Just so much talent on that defense alone. Prince Amukamara, the safety over there from Cleveland that they acquired in free agency as well. Jacksonville, man. If they were to add a guy like Greg Hardy, didn't show too much in Dallas, but with the talent surrounded around Hardy, if you were to join Jacksonville, that would have been nasty. Again, I don't think we should read too much into it. I personally, I don't think he should get another look in the NFL. What do you think, though?
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that that a team did give him a shot just based on his history, and it seems like he hasn't learned his lesson yet, and that's a whole another story that's a whole another podcast for a whole another day about his lessons that he hasn't learned. But when you think about it in terms of football complex, it'll be a fantastic addition to that Jacksonville defensive line, because you already think about, like I said, they got Malik Jackson in free agency. Then you add Jared Odrick already on that defensive line. Then you got Odrick. Yep, exactly. Then think about it. You get a healthy Dante Fowler back as well. That's ridiculous, just ridiculous. Then you got Senderick Marks, and then Yannick Ngakwe.
Yeah.
Ngakwe from University of Maryland on that defensive line as well. And then you mentioned what they just coming out as a linebacker, Telvin Smith, Posluszny, Miles Jack. I mean, just loaded on that front seven. And you mentioned Tayshaun Gibson, who they got from Cleveland. I mean, that defense could do something in the AFC, and that kind of defense added with Hardy could actually help the Jaguars possibly win the AFC South, because you need defense.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's not worried about the offense of the AFC South, because all teams have weapons. It's about, can you play defense and get stops? And adding Hardy to that defense would help them get stops. It would take down quarterbacks like Andrew Luck and Marcus Mariota, Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think that's a guy that you want to bring around the young nucleus there, though, that they have in Jacksonville, and that may be one of the reasons why they're deciding to pass on him, at least as of right now. Again, so much young talent and so much new talent as well with Prince Amukamara, Sean Gibson, Malik Jackson. So we'll see how those guys gel. Again, nothing guaranteed there in the AFC North. It really is just a toss-up between all four teams. With Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Houston. And like you said, I mean, it doesn't look like Greg Hardy learned his lesson, but a guy that has been in I don't know if really any of these domestic violence situations are really similar to one another, but another guy that has been in trouble with domestic violence, Ray Rice, he was in the news today. He says that if a team were to sign him to a deal, that he will donate his entire salary to a charity, which I think is it really opened my eyes. I mean, that right there tells you, just how much he loves the game, how much he misses the game, and obviously what he's been doing in the community since that video was released. Nothing more you could say. He really messed up, and he did deserve to get cut by the Ravens, and he hasn't played in over 2 years now. I personally, I would like to see Ray Rice get another shot, and I think what he said today, he'll donate his full salary to a charity if he gets another NFL shot. I mean, that right there just tells you that obviously, again, he really messed up. It's his fault. Don't get me wrong, but let's give this guy another shot, because it just shows how much love he has for the game, how much he misses the game, and I think what he's done up to this point since that video was released, he's really shed a big light on domestic violence and really athletes that have gotten in trouble with domestic violence.
No, you're right. He's pretty much been a model citizen ever since that incident. Unlike Greg Hardy, he's got it. He's understood.
Light and day different.
Literally. He understood what he did wrong, and he's going to make the changes to it. You know what it almost reminds me of? I know this is totally two different situations, but it almost reminds me of the Michael Vick situation. And how a lot of people thought Vick was never going to get back in the league after what he did. And it was like he went through the whole change of understanding and trying to figure out, he understood what he did was wrong. And he came out a whole reformed, changed man, and it just took one team to give him a chance. And it's the same thing. And you see Vic ever since then has been an excellent model citizen. And I think the same thing is just going to be for, he said, Ray Rice, he's going to donate his whole salary. That takes a lot for, anybody to do, especially somebody that messed up and say, I'm going to donate my charity to domestic violence. And we all know that money is going to help to go for a greater cause. So I think a team should give him a chance. Running back position literally in the NFL is day and night. You know, you can be hot one week, then hot not the next week. Somebody can get injured. Somebody else is getting worked out or tried out. It's just like that. It's just like that in the running back position because anybody can get injured. And I think that if there's a team out there that could be looking for a better running back, nobody's not saying, you know, make him the number 1 or number 2 guy, but a guy that can get you those short yardage goal line situations, why not use him? Why not? I know there's going to be a lot of things that come with it, just like with the whole Vic thing. A lot of things came in when the Eagles signed him and the program, people standing outside the Eagles complex and stuff like that. But I think he deserves another chance. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, obviously playing the running back position probably doesn't help him as much as we've seen over the years. It's really just been a plug and play type of position. Being 29 doesn't help him as much. Coming off of probably his worst year of his career when that video dropped doesn't help him much. But would like to see Ray Rice get another look in the NFL. You can't tell me a team can't use them right now. I mean, off the top of my head, we were talking about them earlier. Cleveland, I know they got Isaiah Crowell, who's actually going through some stuff right now as well. Duke Johnson, really looking forward to seeing him have a big year. But like you said, bring in a guy like Ray Rice, have him handle the goal line carries, the third and short carries, and I think you have yourself a pretty productive back or a reliable back in the backfield. But again, he's been gone from the game for quite a while now too. So we'll have to knock off a bit of rust as well. So, but again, would like to see Ray Rice get another shot. Greg Hardy, don't think he's really learned his lesson just yet. He may have to sit out for quite a bit as well. Again, we're chatting with Jovan Alford of TotalSportsLive.com, contributor over at Real GM, and you can give him a follow on Twitter at Jovan10. One more quick note. It was, again, as soon as we hopped on the air, it was reported that J.J. Watt went in for surgery yesterday for herniated disc, and they're saying that the symptoms, it went down as he was working out on his own, and looks like an 8-week return is best case scenario, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. That they're saying it could actually be longer than a 6 to 8 week recovery time, but it looks as if that's the soonest he could return is 6 to 8 weeks. So there is a possibility that J.J. Watt might be on the bench for the first week or two of the season. Obviously, knowing J.J. Watt, I would not bet my money on that. I bet that he will be there and ready for Week 1, but certainly a pretty big setback for the Houston Texans and that defense. Anyways, Jovan, again, we appreciate you calling in. Any other notes that you want to touch on before we let you go? We got about 2 more minutes.
No, I think we literally covered everything that literally just happened this week, because there's probably more stuff that's going to be happening next week with training camps opening. So I think we literally covered everything that's happening this week.
Hey, football is in the air. Gotta love it. I could almost taste it. Again, it's the best time of the year. Jovan Alford, Total Sports Live, Real GM. Thanks a lot for giving us a call in this evening. Before I let you go, as always, tell the listeners where they could find your work at.
Yes, pretty much. I got to do this quick so we can run out of time. You can follow me on Twitter at Jovan10. Check out TotalSportsLive.com, Philly Sports, all that good stuff right there on TotalSportsLive.com. Follow on Twitter at TotalSportsLive. Got some Eagle stuff running tomorrow. Got a Josh Huff. I'm writing a Josh Huff story, so that should be up tomorrow. And check out my work on RealGM.com, and also this Given Sunday doing some freelancing over there as well. I'm all over the interwebs these days, so yeah, that's about it.
Yes. Yeah, there you have it again. Must follow on Twitter at Jovan10. Check out all of his work. A great NFL follow, a great NBA follow. So again, Jovan10, Jovan Alford of Total Sports Live and Real GM, and other places as well, contributing and writing and knocking out these articles and interviews. Again, Jovan, thanks for calling in, man.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Special thanks to Jovan Alford for calling in. Again, thanks for tuning into the CS podcast. We are presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. Use the promo code DRAFT2016 for a 30-day free trial.